Welcome to Business Amplified with host Kevin A. Dunlap.
This podcast is for small business owners aiming to amplify their enterprises.
Explore strategies to play a bigger game by becoming an author, public speaker, podcast host, or expanding your brand in other ways.
Elevate your business on Business Amplified.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Business Amplified. Today I'm going to have a very special guest. He's also an author as well as a business owner. So I want to welcome to the microphone Daniel. So Daniel, welcome to our show today.
Thank you, man, and thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
So Daniel, tell the audience a little bit who you are, what is it that you do, and why is it that you do what you do?
Absolutely. So I am an author and I am the founder of a company called Passion for Achievement. We help entrepreneurs design their versions of a world-class life because I believe that personal growth and lifestyle design go hand in hand with business performance. So we look at their habits, their systems, are they in momentum with the things they need to be in momentum with and all these things. And so the reason I do it is because I have this enemy that is wasted potential. I just cannot take it when I see people that could have the health that they want, or the business that they want, or the financials that they want, and they don't have it. This idea of wasted potential, I just dislike it very much. And at first, I wanted to eliminate every single kind of wasted potential for every single person on the planet. And obviously, I would still like to do that. But I've learned later that I have to kind of pick who I'm helping and how. And that's how I ended up working with entrepreneurs in the way that I am working with them.
And how long have you been doing business? And then also, what kind of entrepreneurs are you working with? Because I come from a background where many moons ago, I was a college math teacher. And I remember that when I were an instructor, as I should be calling it, is that I would have students who did not do well in my class in my first couple of years of teaching. And I took it very personal that I was giving somebody a D or giving somebody an F. And then after I realized, like, it's not about me, it's about them. So what was your transformation as to honing down who you wanted to work with? Because it sounded like you were going through some of the same things. You were working with people who did not want to work on their potential. So tell us about that journey.
Absolutely. So my journey with helping people this way started in late 2015, 2016. And what I did was I didn't really want to come out and say, hey, I'm the expert, I know everything. I started my career off very much like as a messenger. So what I would do is I would try a bunch of stuff, primarily in the personal growth arena, because I was kind of, I'd been off track in life and I was kind of looking to get back on track. So I just immersed myself in personal growth, and a lot of it didn't really work for me. Some of it did. And I took these things that worked really, really well, and a bit like a chef, I didn't invent beef, I didn't invent garlic, but I took these ingredients and I kind of put them together in a way for people to digest and for people to actually put it to practical use and see some of the same results that I did. So in the beginning, it was very generic personal growth that I was kind of sharing, and then it just realized for me that I just realized that just about every success story I had, or someone sending me an email or calling me or texting me saying, hey, your ebook or your course or whatever did this for me, they always had some kind of entrepreneurial spirit. It was always some kind of entrepreneur. And then I realized many of the people that I am studying personal growth from are also top tier entrepreneurs. So just for me, it just very quickly dawned on me that this idea of entrepreneurship and personal growth, these ideas are very, very entangled. And once I realized that, I just honed in on that connection, that combination, or that synergy between personal growth and entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and I will say that because currently I live in Raleigh, North Carolina at the time of this recording. However, for 18 years, I lived in Las Vegas, Nevada, and right around 2010, that's when I started. I started doing personal growth and personal development from CDs cassettes if you want to really want to date
Mm-hmm.
yourself. But in 2010, that's when I started taking live classes. And that's when, and then that is when I started to realize that entrepreneurship and personal development do go hand in hand. Now, to do personal development does not mean you have to be an entrepreneur by no means whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, having the aspect of personal growth, personal development as one of the aspects in your business, it will go a long way. So tell us a little bit about your journey into the personal growth and personal development arenas.
Absolutely. Well, I started, like I said, I was very off track early in life. I want to be vulnerable, and I want to give a little bit of a personal story, if that's okay. I was off track. I unfortunately had some death in my family at a very early age, and that kind of put me off track in terms of school. I dropped out of school very early. I wasn't paying attention to my health. I wasn't. In fact, I actually ended up being involved a little bit in a little bit of crime, a little bit of drug abuse, and I was really, like I said, going down the wrong track. And I just realized this is either going to end very badly, possibly very soon, or I gotta really turn things around. And if I am gonna turn things around, I'm not just gonna build a tolerable life. If I'm gonna turn things around and give this life thing a real shot, then I want to do it right. I want to do it big. I want it all. I want the career, I want the health, I want the great relationships, I want all of that. So what I decided was I want a world-class life. And I don't know where that word came from, but that's just how I pictured it. I want the life truly worth living. And so my first step was figuring out what that was, right? What is a world-class life? What is a life worth living? And that just completely pulled me into the world of personal growth. I would start listening to courses and all these things, and I would buy a lot of books. I would spend all my birthday and Christmas wishes on just pure personal growth books. And I even saved up to go to a conference in Miami when I was very young, and all these things because I was very, very determined on doing it right. This life thing. I really wanted to build something that was worth living. And so ever since I made that decision, it's just been very clear to me that personal growth was such a huge part of that.
Okay. And I will even say to myself on my own personal journey that whenever I started doing the personal growth classes that I took, because these are live classes, was in February 2010. And I remember because my birthday's in February, and we were actually having our last day of the event was on my birthday. And I remember just, grabbing the microphone, going up on stage, sitting in the big chair, in front of maybe 40 or 50 people, and just sharing my life story. I mean, I was just sobbing and crying. But
Mhm.
then I realized at that point that this was the moment of my turnaround. This was the moment
Yes.
that things were going to were going to get better. And then that's when I discovered the world of quote unquote manifestation. That
Hmm.
you can manifest, if you have the right mindset, you can manifest whatever it is that you want. And at that event in 2010, I ended up taking their second level course. Then by November, I was taking the third level course, and also that year I took their fourth level course. I mean, I was just on a huge journey that year.
Hmm.
2010 was transformational, and well, with that being said, that's when I really, really started learning about how you can become a much better human being, through the whole personal growth and personal development experience. And even in 2016, that's when I wrote my second book called Designing Your Own Destiny. And I remember back when we had bookstores, because this is before 2016, back when we had bookstores. I know there's still a couple out there, but back in 2016, there was Barnes and Noble, there was Books a Million, there were several different bookstores, and I remember walking to the bookstore and I see the self-help section, and I
Hmm.
remember I would almost like, what's wrong with you? Why are you the self-help section? But my second book that I wrote was on self would go to the self-help section of the bookstore. Like they're like, oh, I get it now. You want to improve yourself. You want to, you want to work on your own personal journey because. One of the things I realized at that time, like if you think you're the best you can ever be, wherever it is in your business, then you've hit a stagnant ceiling. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. 100%. And I think some people will look at all this personal growth and they will view it as some kind of woo-woo, hocus pocus stuff that is very impractical and that it doesn't really translate to anything tangible. But first of all, that kind of depends on what kind of personal growth you're doing. I think for me, some personal growth has resulted in very tangible results for my business, for my health. And so oftentimes when I talk with these business owners, they're looking for a business coach that's good at numbers and all these things. And I just, like I said, I've been running my business since 2016, so I understand the numbers as well. But sometimes they go through a lot of these business coaches, and there's just something missing still, because when you have a company, the person in charge, whether that's the founder, the CEO, some kind of leader, perhaps a manager even, how he's performing and the decision that he or she is making, the productivity and efficiency of that person, and the way he or she is communicating, all these things is all these things have something to do with who you are as a person and your level of growth. And so I don't think anyone would disagree that many of those things that I just mentioned have a direct impact on the bottom line. And so I absolutely understand the idea of, man, personal growth is for weirdos, or it's for people that are, I don't know, but it's so changeable, the results that you will see in just about every area of your life once you start becoming more or doing more, or yeah, I love personal growth so much. I think it's the key to it's just about everything.
And with my personal experience, because when I took this course, I've gone back and volunteer staff this course 17 times. I mean, it's because I just love being around that energy. And I've seen where a mom and son were very estranged. They were like at opposite ends. The mom took a course, and then a month later, the son took a course, and that completely resolved the relationship.
Yeah.
So for those of you out there that are like say, yeah, it's too woo-woo, and I use the word woo-woo all the time. A lot of people don't even know what the word woo-woo means, so I have to explain it to them. But it may be a little bit out there, but the thing is, it's all about your internal energy. It's all about what kind of energy are you putting out into the universe, and then what kind of energy are you attracting to yourself? And if you're not willing to be open to being vulnerable, not willing to be open to being there for somebody else, or having somebody else there for you, then this is something you definitely want to acknowledge, something that you definitely want to experience.
Absolutely agreed, 100%.
So, Daniel, how do you use the personal growth, personal development stuff in your business coaching, in how you relate to other businesses?
Absolutely. So the first thing I'm very big on, and this is probably the most woo-woo aspect of our model, but it's the first step that we go through, is I'm very, very big on clarity. What exactly is it that we want to do, and what are our values, and what are our strengths, weaknesses, all these things. And something I'll see is perhaps an entrepreneur, and when we really dive deep into his or her values, it turns out that one of the things that is very important to this person is freedom. And then when we dive deeper into that, I ask them, what does that mean to you? It turns out that they value a freedom of location, for example. For me, that's a big one. Everything I've done today, I could have done from a cafe in Turkey or a hotel in Tokyo. I have this freedom of location because I've designed my life and business around that, because it's important to me. But if I'm sitting down with an entrepreneur that really truly values this freedom of location, but he's built an office culture that requires him to be in the office 60 hours a week, then the more you work on this business and the more it grows, the more it's kind of pulling you away from one of the values that you say matter most to you. And this is when we start seeing things like stress, burnout, overwhelm. It's when we start seeing, you're not treating your employees as well because they are in your mind, dragging you away from what you truly want. And it's when we start seeing a loss of passion, a loss of, this entrepreneur is supposed to be a visionary, he's supposed to come up with ideas for growth, expansion, all that. But that's the last thing he wants, because it's, pulling him away from what he wants. Could be a relationship that he really values, but his business is dragging him away from it. Could be a bunch of things. And so I want to get really clear on what exactly the person wants. So just like back when I had to make a tough decision, I decided to give life a shot. I decided to build what I, would deem a world-class life. The first job was to figure out what is a world-class life. And that's actually something we do, first of all, with the entrepreneurs, because once you have that, we can now see if your business is working towards it or against it. So a lot of people are going very, very fast in the opposite direction of where they're supposed to go, and that's not optimal for anything. And then the next thing we do is, once we know what exactly we're trying to do in and out of business, we can start building systems, right? So we can identify this is where we are right now in this very specific metric or this very specific area of life or area of business, and this is where we'd like to be in that area. So when you know where you are and you know where you'd like to be, which, by the way, just an interesting thing here, everyone talks about goals and knowing where you want to go and all these things, and I do as well because it's a very big deal. But you got to know where you are as well. So if you put in your phone in your GPS and you put in a destination and you say Manhattan, this address, the only way the GPS can actually give you a route from as well. So that's one thing. So we identify where we are, where we would like to be in a very specific aspect of this overall life we're trying to build. And then what shows up is a gap, right? You'll have a gap between where you are and where you'd like to be. We'll look at, okay, what are some things we can do that would bridge the gap? I call them bridge the gap activities. Let's just take an easy example. If you want to have more muscle, a bridge the gap activity could be weightlifting, right? So if I wanted to be on more podcasts, a bridge the gap activity could be reaching out to podcasts, right? So this one is often very easy to identify, but it's difficult to implement or to do it consistently and to do it over and over again and to do it with intensity and focus. And it's like that with many things in life. It's not tricky to find out what do I need to do. The tricky thing is to do it. And so once we have this activity that we know will bridge the gap from where we are to where we'd like to be in a very specific aspect of this world-class life we're trying to build, we will now go into, and we can talk about that as well if we're time. We'll go into the systems and we'll try and see how can we build a system around that so that it happens automatically, so we don't have to think about it and so we don't have to exert willpower and all these things, but it's just something that happens. Once you have systems, you can kind of scale. And people think scaling is only, things like going into your advertising manager and cranking up your advertising budget. But scaling is also saying, oh, I'm reading 6 pages in a book every night and then going, from now on, I'll do 7, right? So you can scale other things than just the numbers. So that's what we do once we have the systems that are designed to give us exactly what it is that we want. And once we have that, I just see stress and burnout and overwhelm and procrastination go completely out the window. It disappears very, very fast, and performance just goes way up. So yeah,
Okay.
that's what.
Okay. So the very first thing that I'm hearing is that as you're trying to grow your business, number one, it has to be in alignment with your core values. That's the very first thing. If you find out, let's say, hey, I want the autonomy of being able to work anywhere in the world. You can say it could be Manhattan, it could be Tokyo, it could be Istanbul. Using some of the areas that you talked about. But if you're are building a brick and mortar business, that is not going to be in alignment to your core values. So the thing is, either you need to change your core values, number one, or number two, you have to change your business model. Because otherwise you are going to get that burnout, you're going to get that stress.
Exactly, and the freedom one was just an example. There are many things. If you're one of your main drives, as it is for me, once again, is impact and contribution, but you're selling muffins. Maybe you have a muffin store and people come up there and it's so good and they've had a tough day, and because of your muffin now they're happy again, and maybe they come with their family and so they have like a family moment, and then you feel like some kind of impact. That's nice. That's great. But let's say you're actually like you're selling muffins or you're selling cheeseburgers or you're selling cigarettes, and one of your biggest values is doing meaningful work or doing things where you know there's a positive impact in the world. Once again, you would kind of feel like, okay, there's a mismatch. So there are many things. It could be freedom, could be contribution, could be self-respect, could be a bunch of stuff that you feel is important, but that you're working towards. Working away from.
Okay. And then tell us about was there like a catalyst? Was there an event in your life that made you have this complete reverse or this 180-degree turn, or was it something like that that happened to you? So I know for me, it's like in 2010 when I got introduced to this course that I took in February of 2010. That was probably a benchmark in my life. I mean, I get to it was between February 18th and 21st of 2010. I can tell you the dates. So was there something like that for you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I'm curious to know why you went to that thing. If there was something that triggered you even before that that made you sign up for that event. But for me, what caused it was I was very off track, like I said, and I don't often go too much in detail with it, but very off track. And I remember I was at a kind of a summer home, vacation home with a bunch of my friends. We'd rented it for the weekend and we were drinking. I think some of them were doing a bit of drugs, and it was not that good. Anyway, one of them came up with this idea that we should, for fun, just go around in a circle and just guess how old we were going to be. How old do you think you're going to be? And someone would say, "Oh, I think 88," and the other one would say, "Oh, I think maybe 84." And the vibe was really good and positive. And then they came to me, and I killed that vibe very quickly when I said, with a stone cold face, I said 21. And they were like, "No, no, Dan, come on. How old do you think you're gonna be?" I said, "There's no way that I'm making it past 21. I'm not because by then I was doing, like I said, drugs and I was crashing cars and I was just I was lost. And so I was really certain there's just no way that I'm gonna make it past here." And that scared me a little bit. Well, it scared me a lot because I had an amazing mother and a little brother and I had friends and all these things that. So I felt like I'm not gonna let that happen. I have to really truly turn things around. And I also knew myself well enough to understand that if I'm gonna turn it around and I'm gonna live a life that is merely tolerable, that I'm not interested in that at all. So if we're gonna do this, I'll do it all the way. So that was actually the event that kind of made me turn things around.
I remember having a yoga instructor, and she was like, kind of like yourself. That she was a heavy drinker and just partying all the time. And then she said at one moment, one day, she woke up like at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and she was like, I don't know if she was clothed or naked, but she was on the floor of her basement. And she goes, "Why am I doing this?" And that was
Mm.
the last time she ever drank alcohol.
Oh,
And so it's sometimes it is those big dramatic experiences. And you ask me, why did I do it? Why did I do what I did at that time? I was not that happy in my life. And then somebody said, "Hey, you should take this course. You should take this course." Like, okay, whatever. Now I'll do it. It's only $500, $400. I'll go take the course. And I remember it was a very experiential course. So the audience members, they could participate or they could not. It was very interactive. So we had exercises and stuff. There was a volunteer staff in the back of the room that would hold the integrity of the group or even the smaller groups that we had. And after taking that course, like it's like, oh my gosh, I'm just doing that was my real introduction to personal development. And then I remember I took the second level course that was in February and April. I took the second level course, and then I came back to staff the first level course as a volunteer staff person. And then that's when the facilitator happened to be the same facilitator that I was a volunteer staffing, and he shared something. This was like April, May of 2010. And at that time, I was like 240, 250 pounds. I mean, I was a triple XL. I mean, I was a kind of a
mm.
butterball at that time. he's the one that said something about how he had a near-death experience, and then he shared about doing P90X, and because he specifically said P90X. And
Mm-hmm.
then that's when I bought P90X, and I had my high school reunion coming up in August of 2010, which was my 25th year high school reunion.
Mm-hmm.
And I even had talked to an ex-girlfriend of mine that I did not go to high school with. She was an ex-girlfriend of mine. She was in Philadelphia at the time, and I was in Vegas. I said, "Well, my high school reunion is in Pensacola, Florida. So would you mind being my coming to me there?" And about 2 months before that, because P90X is a 3 month system, and I started working out doing P90X. Well, by the time after the high school reunion, and then a month later after I finished P90X, I went from 240 to 180 pounds. It was all based upon all the stuff that I learned from those first two courses. Like, what am I committed to? What is, and what am I living for? What is my purpose?
Mm-hmm.
And then so to me, 2010 was life changing, not only physically, personally and physically, business wise, as well as personal growth wise. And since then, to me, I rather associate with people who are actively working on themselves rather than people who are just like, they just throw it like how I would have been prior to 2010. And when somebody says, "Hey, I'm constantly working myself," that to me is a sign of humbleness, as well as not only vulnerability, but also somebody that realizes, "Hey, I'm not better than you. We're all on this journey together, and let's go ahead and just work on ourselves."
Absolutely, yeah, and I love that. I think we've all known a lot of people because in some areas it's kind of the normal thing to do. It's just the status quo, I think it's called. It's just keep keep being what you are, and then kind of defend what you are. So if there's information that suggests you could be doing more or doing something different or whatever, we must kind of attack it instead of learn from it and grow. I think that's certainly what I've seen a lot in my, when I was growing up and stuff. So yeah, once you see people that are looking to grow and learn and push themselves and be uncomfortable once in a while, it's really, really powerful to have a circle of influence like that. So yeah, absolutely.
That is one of my mottos, as somebody, as a business coach myself, is, when I talk to people, like, for you to grow your business, you have to start becoming uncomfortable. I
Yes.
call it, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Hmm. I love that. That's really good. Yeah,
Um,
I mean,
so,
being
uh,
uncomfortable is a necessity. I think a lot of what you're trying to do, whether it's grow, whether it's be focused, be effective. I think a lot of it just yeah, it requires you to step outside your comfort zone once in a while.
so Daniel, so you say you've been in business since like 2015. Could you tell us about some of your biggest, one or one of the top two biggest challenges that you have had, and and what did you learn from it? Now, or not only what you learn from it, but how did you overcome it?
Yeah, so share just pure business wise. The main struggle I've had is I've always wanted to help everyone with everything. I really just wanted to help every person on the planet reach their maximum potential. And every business coach I hired and everyone would say, then you gotta niche down. You gotta find who it exactly is that you're trying to help, who you're trying to, and I just felt like, man, I just want to help everybody. And then that meant my message was very generic, my solutions were very generic. And so my absolute toughest challenge in business has been figuring out more and more and more specifically who I'm trying to help and how. Um, and then yeah, I think actually that's the main thing I've struggled with. Also, something I think we can all struggle with a little bit once in a while is this idea of shiny object syndrome. I feel like I'm pretty proud of myself of how many opportunities I've had coming my way that I've said no to because I wanted to stay on track with my business and stay focused and all that. But I think I could have possibly been perhaps a little bit more focused in especially the first years of my business.
Okay. And I think that is very common small among business owners is they want to help everybody and they don't niche down or niche down, however you want to say the word, niche or
Mhm.
niche, I don't care.
I don't know either.
However, you want to be more specific because the thing is, if you and I say this in my, one of my main webinars, which is called Roadmap for Business Successes. If your goal is to help everybody, you're going to help nobody. So
Exactly.
you have to be specific. Now the
Yes.
thing is, if you have that altruistic heart like Daniel seems to have, yes, you can help more people, and yes, you can niche down. But here's the secret: you can have more than one niche.
Yes.
You may say, "Hey, I work with 20 to 50 or 20 to 40 year olds that are business owners that have been in business for under 1 year." But guess what? I also work with 30 to 45 year olds to people that have been in business for 5 years or longer. I have two
Yes.
different niches. But the thing is, how you talk to niche one is going to be different how you talk to niche two. And it is you can have even three niches, you can have four, you can have five. But the thing is, I call it your specific audience. Some people call it your ideal client, some people call it your avatar, but I call it who is your specific audience. And I say specific audience because it's your audience that is very specific. I mean, this is
Yeah.
it's pretty clear. But the thing is, you can have more than one. The way that you market to them, the way that you talk to them, the way you advertise to them, the way that you coach them is going to be slightly different, and that is perfectly fine.
Hmm.
However, I would say, using Daniel as an example, is because pick one specific niche right now and be as narrow and as specific as possible. Start working with those clients, and then you pick a second niche, and maybe you pick a third. Because for an example, if Daniel only works with men, would he advertise in a woman's magazine? Probably not. But those of you that are not being specific, you go say, I'm going to do the Inquirer. I'm going to do Women's Today. I'm going to do Sports Illustrated. I'm going to like, but no, 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 no. You have to be very specific. Yeah.
Yeah,
Would you agree?
absolutely, 100%. And also, if I were to say, which I have actually played around with that idea of helping men solely, because I am very big also on things like, a lot of men they talk about they want more muscle mass and all these things, and I'm just better at that part as well for men. I have absolutely talked about sorry, I absolutely considered that, and I will probably maybe do that. But the
Take your own
man,
advice.
yeah, exactly. The man that hears I help men achieve X will be more attracted, more appealed than him hearing the message I help people achieve X. So as your example there, if I'm helping men, I don't advertise in the the female magazines, and that's already a huge bonus. But also when I am in the men's magazines and I'm saying I help men, the men in there are feeling like I'm talking to them more so than they would if I just said, "Hey, I help people do something." So I 100% agree. I think the niche is a big thing. I heard someone talk about this idea of selling a course or training called productivity hacks versus productivity hacks for salesmen versus productivity hacks for outbound salesmen versus productivity hacks for outbound salesmen that sell furniture, right? I think the higher you
We're a
go
widget.
up there, yeah, exactly. The higher you go up that ladder, I think that the more you can charge for your service, and also the more you can really truly speak to the person that you're trying to help. And I just wish I was saying all these things maybe 6 years ago or 5 years ago, because I truly believe these things now, I was always kind of skeptical about that when I first started out. So yeah, that's definitely
And
a thing
here's the
I've
thing:
changed.
one of the things that I learned is he may say, "Hey, I help men who are between 30 and 45 years old that sell this specific widget online in the month of January through March." You can be as specific as possible. However, as somebody that comes into your marketing plan and says, "Hey, I don't sell widget A, I sell widget B." He's not going to turn them away. So, well, he could, but he's most likely he's not going to turn them away. And I had
Mhm.
learned that I don't know, 2014-ish, when I was attending a course which was mainly about a woman on set. Her name was Lisa Sasevich. I'm going to get specific here. Her name was Lisa Sasevich, and she was mainly speaking to women entrepreneurs. And she had a class that had like 500 people in there. And guess what? There was 10 men, including myself, in the class. Yeah. And even her motto was like, "Let's be sassy." Because she was playing a play on her last name was Sasevich. And it's like, well, that
Mm.
doesn't really apply to me, but she's still teaching some very, very good stuff. Now, I would guarantee you this: out of the 10 men, out of the 500 men that were in the class, guess what? None of them were married to the woman in the class. I was the only single man in the class, and I learned so much stuff because even though she was teaching mainly for women entrepreneurs and teaching women how to stand out, the information that she was teaching was very, very informational, even for myself, even though I was not a female entrepreneur. So the
Yes.
thing is, you can niche down. However, and this is going to be up to you, whatever it is that you're coaching or doing, but you can decide if that person that does not fall within that, I was just going to say that specific audience, can they still learn something from you? And if they can, then they can still take your course.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree 100%. I think my struggle is I have I think maybe 99.5% of what I do is equal whether you're a woman or a man, and some of my greatest success stories are from women, but yeah, I'll definitely have to think about that. But for now, I'm having both, but I will definitely, yeah,
And
I
so then
you definitely got me
so
thinking a little bit about that. So yeah.
well, hopefully, now that I've gotten the guests taken, hopefully those of you that are listening to this podcast or watching this on YouTube can also start thinking outside the box a little bit. How you can be outside the box, becoming more specific to attract more specific, but then again, you can still influence other people. You can influence more people by becoming more narrow.
Absolutely.
It's kind of productive in your mind.
Yeah, yeah, but it makes sense. Yeah, agree.
So Daniel, are there any things that you've learned over the last 9, 10, 11, 12 years from your business that you would like to share with with the audience?
Yeah, one thing I've learned that I'm especially paying more and more attention to the last maybe year or so is this concept of doing the thing. So and so what I mean by that is oftentimes in business there's one thing that would do more for your business than anything else. There's one thing, the more I do this, the more y happens, right? So x equals y. And I think another thing I've struggled with for a long time in my business career was if I did something that in some way, shape, or form was connected to my business, then I felt productive. I felt effective and efficient. I felt like I was working on my business. So that means if I'm watching a YouTube video on something about marketing, then I feel like I'm working. If I'm reading a book on business or marketing or sales, whatever, then I feel like I'm working. And if I'm, scrolling Instagram, maybe once in a while, I'm making, some comments and people are liking it, then I convince myself I'm working. This is me branding and all these things. And so what I've realized now is that it's absolutely okay to read the book. It's 100% okay to watch some YouTube once in a while and educate myself and then get inspired. It's okay to scroll social media. It's okay to do these things. I just cannot, I can no longer tell myself that that is doing the thing. So I read a long post from someone who said, reading about doing the thing is not doing the thing. Thinking about doing the thing is not doing the thing. Talking to someone about doing the thing is not doing the thing. The only thing that is doing the thing is doing the thing. And so, once again, I think many of the things I just mentioned are powerful and good. Just don't count those in as work time or as doing the most effective thing you can possibly do. So since I realized that, I've spent a lot more time on the one thing that can really truly push me forward. And that's just catapulted everything I'm trying to do, whether it's build my brand or it's increase revenue or it's you know yeah, could be many things, but doing the thing, like really truly doing the thing.
So as Daniel was saying, is to take action, not only take action, but take massive action. Don't just keep planning and preparing, but you also have to actually start doing the thing, or as I call it, taking action.
Yes.
So, Daniel, if somebody that's listening to this show or watching this YouTube video, if they wanted to find out more about how they can work with you, to learn more about how they can be part of your a bigger universe, how can they
Mhm.
get a hold of you? Do you have a landing page, or do you have a calendar link? Do you have a website, or how can they get a hold of you?
Absolutely. So the best thing is probably my Instagram. My username is I am Daniel Hauge. So it's I am Daniel Hauge. And on there you can DM me if you're looking to learn more. I have a bunch of content. I'll be doing content every daily from now on. You can also grab some of my free trainings. There will be a free PDF, perhaps even a free video course there. So my Instagram is kind of the umbrella that can lead you to wherever you want to get involved with me. You can also go to my company website called passionforachievement.com, and then the four is the number four. So passion, the number four, achievement.com.
So that's a passion for the number four, as you just said, achievement.com, or you can find him on Instagram on I am Daniel Hauge. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right.
Perfect.
That's I am for am, Daniel, Daniel, and Hauge is Hauge.
Yes.
And just out of curiosity, because I'm noticing your background, because I'm looking at your window, so it's dark outside and it's morning here. Where are you located, so people know that, so they can identify kind of like, what is the time zone, the time frame difference.
Absolutely, and I'm kind of flattered that my Scandinavian accent wasn't that crazy that so that you immediately noticed it. But I'm from Denmark, so I am in Aarhus right now, which is the second largest city in Denmark. Yeah, and it is 7 p.m. here.
Okay, because he just willy-nilly said Miami. He said Manhattan. So he was kind of like talking like he was in America. But I was kind of distracted. For those of you that are watching this on YouTube, it is right now going on 1 o'clock p.m. my time. But I've noticed his background went from like late afternoon to evening. Like, okay, we're not in the same time zone. That's one thing that I did notice. So
Yeah,
he's in Denmark. So just be aware that he's going to be a few hours ahead of us. So if you are going to be working with Daniel, just be aware of that. That way, that you can be at least mentally prepared to say, I need to do this more in the morning, or versus his or evening. So Daniel, I want to say thank you for being on the show today. And I also want to say, for those of you who are listening to the show, if you feel like that you have a message that you want to share with with our audience, or if you know somebody, just go to our website at businessamplify.net/pre-interview. Again, that's for a 15-minute interview, so we can decide, hey, this is going to be a good fit or not. Again, that's businessamplify.net/pre-interview. Also, if you want to work with Daniel, go to his website at I am Daniel. Oh, excuse me, that's his Instagram. Is a passion for what was what was the second word?
passionforachievement.com.
Passionforachievement.com, or find him on Instagram at I am Daniel Hauge, and that's all going to be in our show notes. So Daniel, I want to say thank you for being part of the show today, and I love the fact that us at Business Amplified are getting people from all over the world. I mean, because that's one of the things that we learn is that, hey, I don't care if you're doing business in Denmark, Australia, the UK, in the United States, in Canada, we all have the similar challenges. We all have similar restrictions as well as aspirations. So, Daniel, I do want to say thank you for being on the show today. This has been a great time.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for having me. This has been incredible. I'm glad to be here.
And guys, I want to say thank you for tuning in today. And until next time, be amazing.
Thanks for tuning in to another empowering episode of Business Amplified with Kevin A. Dunlap.
If you found value in today's insights, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share the podcast.
Keep amplifying your business. And remember, your success journey is our inspiration.
Until next time on Business Amplified, go out there and make your business thrive.